Welcome to Sweeping the Country one more time. I'm your host, Derek Walker, along with my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Hey, it's been we're starting September off, and Labor Day's done. We're in the fall now.
Yeah, boy.
Football season, college football, pro football, the World Series. It's my favorite time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And if it could just get a little cooler, good Lord.
Are you still
hot? I'm so tired of the summer of 2023. Again, hot this week, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are, and it's enough of this already. I don't know what's going on with it. And it's just, the hundreds were really bad, but even the 80s feel uncomfortable these days. So
well, we were just talking last night at dinner, and I said, I don't think we're coming back to the triple digits anymore. I think we've seen them, and we're in fall, and here we go. Hopefully.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I was reading about airplanes, and there's there's several things that have happened this week. Is why I haven't gotten on a plane since right before COVID. And I keep saying no.
Yeah.
Because I keep hearing all these nightmare stories out there. One was this week, plane takes off from Atlanta, Delta to Barcelona. Captain, it's like they hadn't been up more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're over maybe Virginia or northern North Carolina, and they call air traffic control, so we got to go back to Atlanta. So they got to do a U-turn and go back home because someone had a very bad diarrhea, and it polluted the whole plane, and stuff was running down the aisles.
Hey, so it's running all right.
Really, really called it a biohazard. And they had to go back and had to rip the carpet out of the plane and all this kind of stuff.
Can you imagine?
No. Yes, I can, because I had that happen with a baby that projectile vomited from the first seat in coach and puked all over the seats in first class.
Oh, my God.
And got us on the shoulder, and it was the most nasty milk-based baby puke I've ever smelled.
Oh, Lord.
And we're in a plane.
Yeah.
It's hot, and that's another thing. They're trying to get the FAA or Department of Transportation, somebody, to have minimum standards that they can't let the cabin get any hotter than something.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to burn fuel.
Sure.
So they sometimes it gets 90 degrees.
That's
in the cabin, and it gets people angry. Not to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Flight attendants, it's not good for them. It's not good for anybody, but they're so scared they're going to burn gas because they've promised that they would be greener and save more fuel.
I see.
So, I mean, it's all about green. It's this whole barnyard stuff is about green. So I've sat a couple of hot planes, fires off my allergies and everything else, and it's terrible, but they won't make a move. This particular administration, they have all these problems, and they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of labor problems brewing up this fall, too. They're talking about American Airlines flight attendants want to go on strike, but they can stop them. The auto workers want to go on strike. The Screen Actors Guild is always on strike.
They are.
They hadn't gotten off strike yet. And that's going to really cause problems down the road.
No doubt about it. And, you go back.
Netflix is one of the problems.
What are they doing?
Instead of one of the solutions. Well, they're kind of in there with the big boys, the big studio boys now, and because they produce so much product and they're so successful and their stock price is so high. But they don't want to reveal the statistics of how much is being streamed and, to give out their stuff to the actors, because the actors, they want to, sometimes you get paid based on occupancy or based on how many people attend your show, or who all's seeing your show. And that information hasn't been privy from Netflix, very little of it. So the actors, they don't know what to charge, because they do a TV show on CBS and it's charged one way, and they understand if the ratings are crappy that they can't get X amount of dollars.
Gotcha.
If the ratings are good, they can. So they run them in rerun, they run them here, run them there. They know that. And then all of a sudden they show up on Netflix, and they don't know how many people are watching that or how valuable it is. So they're getting ripped off. These studios, and Netflix is a studio now.
Yeah.
And Apple's in there too. They've been ripping off talent since as long as there's been talent.
Sure.
And so have the record companies. And everybody's written books about it. And they just rip off. They rip off the artists. They rip off the writers.
Yeah.
They rip off the actors. They rip off the singers. It's just what they've done. And, the mob own record labels back there. Tommy James has got a great book about working for Roulette Records. And back in the day when he had Hanky Panky and all these songs like that. He never got any money for that. It all went to this guy who was a mobster.
Wow.
And Morris Levy, and it's really the story of Roulette Records is a really cool.
I'm gonna have to look that
really
up because
cool
I do think, I mean, they've been taking advantage. If the mob was running it too, of course they were, and I kind of think that's why they got agents, and then the agents started taking advantage of people. I mean, it's just been crooked all the way.
It's why you started having colleges so people could be in music business, as opposed just to being in music. You have to know something about business so you can watch your copyright. I mean, the Beatles signed over all their stuff. I guess they've never gotten it back. Really,
that's a shame. Yeah.
All of them. Of all those people back in the '60s did real dumb things with copyrights and the way they were going to make money.
Well, yeah, and they're like you said, they're not attorneys. They don't know how to set up the formula.
But they have to take that stuff now in school. Assuming that the new people do.
Yeah.
So anyway, then this movie Barbie, I was reading about it.
Have you seen it yet?
No,
I haven't.
Because I felt weird going in there. But next week it comes out digitally.
Okay.
It's on premium digital ownership for $29.99. That's like a pay-per-view type thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, $24.99 for a 48-hour rental on Apple TV, Prime Video, Google Play, Vudu, and all those.
Are you going to rent it? Are you going to rent it or buy it?
I would consider it.
I might too. I just did. My wife and I.
It's so successful. I kind of would like to see.
It's been
what
hot.
the big deal is, but I'm not burning to see it.
Yeah, me too. I kind of want to see what it's all about. We just did Indiana Jones. You and I were talking about that last week or the week before about the amount of CGI and different things that they had done to wreck that movie. We watched it. We watched about the first half of it, and for one of the first times in my life, I shut off an Indiana Jones movie.
Wow!
In the middle. No, I just wasn't interested in it, and I thought
didn't care.
So we came back the next day. We watched the extended footage of how they did the makeup and how Indy did all the acting, and then we watched the second half and enjoyed it. So I would recommend to people watch the making of the movie first, and you might have a little more. I don't know.
Might care.
Yeah, but otherwise, it was just not as good as the others. I don't know why. I can't even tell you why.
I just think we were. I mean, Barbie is at least new and fresh.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And what's going to happen October 13th is going to be phenomenal. Taylor Swift's concert movie is coming out. They've been selling tickets in advance for it already.
What is it? I don't even. Is
30 million? It's a concert movie.
So like a live of her live.
No, she recorded it.
Yeah.
So it's a concert film.
Huh.
They've had them out before.
Yeah.
It's just a concert, and so they think it's going to be $100 million weekend.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? I mean, what kind of empire does she have? It's got to be
listen
unreal.
To this. On top of that, it's $100 million weekend coming at the movies. But she doesn't even have a studio she's got to split it with. She just made a deal with the distributors to technically get it out there in the system.
Real.
So she's going to be able to keep a lot of that $100 million.
That's a smart move on her part. I mean, you got to hand it to her. She along with guys like Garth Brooks, they know how to work the system a little bit. And they do, and they make money.
A little bit. A lot. And then we don't, as this will have happened by the time we air this, Rolling Stones news conference on Wednesday, 8 early in the morning, to announce their new album, Hackneyed Diamonds. And no idea what that means.
I don't either.
And I don't know if they're going to announce a tour along with that, but I'm sure they will.
That's got to be tomorrow. That's got to be some kind of record. I mean, those guys are old, Jimmy. They're releasing new music. That's got to be some kind of.
They've been working on its first new album in 20 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Really, it's the first new studio album, and they worked on it in Los Angeles. I think McCartney and Ringo might be on it. They may have a bunch of people that they got to help them. So,
I'll be darned. Well, it should be good then, yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
We'll see.
We will see.
Yeah.
And then the death of Jimmy Buffett, he's got a new album that they had, I think they're in near the completion stages on it.
Wow.
And that'll come up. He was something. I mean, you've read, some people have read a lot, heard a lot this week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Good old Southern boy, born in Mississippi, Catholic school kid, good altar boy till he was 17, goes to Auburn University, flunks out
Did he
after the
really?
first quarter
I didn't know
because
that.
of partying too much and drank and got
Well,
Catholic boy goes crazy when he
yeah,
goes off to college.
yeah, yeah.
Floundered around a little bit, went to another university, graduated with a history degree, worked for Billboard magazine, thought he wanted to be a journalist, decided against that. He
Mm-hmm.
ended up still wanted to sing all that time. So becomes a country artist, gets signed by Andy Williams' label, puts out an album, it sells 2 copies or something.
That's
And
something stupid.
they were so unimpressed that he did a second album, but they never released it. So he was kind of on his own, went out and became sort of a street musician in New Orleans and in Austin and in Key West.
When you say street musician, are you talking about open
I
guitar
mean, like
case
those
on the
guys with a
sidewalk?
guitar,
Yeah.
like he's at Bourbon Street or in front of Brennan's or something.
Holy
And
cow.
that's what he did. And he said if he hadn't done that job, he probably wouldn't have ended up what he was doing.
Isn't
But
that something?
he kept going, and he writes this song. He sees people drinking this drink called a margarita
Mm-hmm.
at a restaurant in Austin, and he starts writing a thing about Margaritaville.
Oh, we all know that one. Yeah.
And so that one is written, and he records it, and it goes out. Pretty big hit. Wasn't
Yeah.
like a monster, but
Yeah.
it created a whole thing for him. And now, I mean, when he died, he was the rich. Now, can't count Taylor Swift because she is the richest artist ever to come out of Nashville now.
Yeah, yeah. Still working on it.
But
yeah.
he is, as it is today, he's the richest artist ever to come out of Nashville.
How much was he
was
worth?
$1 billion.
$1 billion?
$1 billion.
Wow. You know what's
Right,
you know what's
because
interesting?
Margaritaville became a restaurant, became a hotel, became a assisted living community in 2 or 3 more places, I think, all the time.
Unreal, yeah.
Pickleball, paddle. I mean, just he knew how to brand. I mean, and luckily he surrounded himself with people who were really smart that weren't crooks.
You know, I got a theory on him a little bit because I feel like when you're talking about him playing, as a street musician and trying to fight his way up and not selling any albums, he was like from a guerrilla marketing, stance, right? Fight for every inch you get.
He believed in himself.
Yeah, totally.
Even if other people didn't, and he had to find his lane.
Yeah.
As a country music artist, he wasn't Ronnie Millsap or he wasn't, whoever else was in competition with, during the late 70s and in early 80s. And he finds some kind of tropical music that's a little bit folk. He's a lot of folk.
A lot of folk, yeah.
People like Jerry Jeff Walker, people like that.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Clark. And so he does these kind of storytelling, Tom T. Hall kind of songs. And then he introduces the tropical aspect of it. The calypso, it's a little bit country, it's a little bit Texas rock, it's a little bit all those things. And it just created a vibe that people liked. Yeah. And his audience stayed with him through today. And he could play amphitheaters. He could play a lot of places. They love the idea. He represented relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
It was a vibe. The dress, the T-shirt, the shorts, being barefooted. People were so confused. They thought he lived in I remember I heard one time they thought he lived in Kingston, Jamaica, or someplace like that.
Yeah.
And in reality, in the last number of years, I mean, he's had a number of homes, but he lived in Sag Harbor, Long Island.
Wow.
Out there on the east shore of Long Island, and which is not where you'd think Jimmy Buffett probably would live.
No.
He was there probably in the late spring, summer, and fall, and then he had a house in Palm Beach.
That makes sense.
For the winter, which is just like Howard Stern has a house in Palm Beach.
Yeah, yeah.
Billy Joel lived out there in Long Island. Paul McCartney was one of his neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Paul McCartney sang for the family while he was in hospice.
Oh, my gosh. Beautiful.
Because he thought he was very respected because of his business thing and just everything about him. He was a good guitar player and good kind of fun singer and kind of fun to be around, fun guy.
All the stuff. Yeah, you talk about all this stuff and all the money he had, and he didn't seem like he had a ton of money. I know he did, but he didn't seem like that. But he also didn't really have the string of number one hits or anything like that. I mean, record sales for him were somewhat. I mean, I would say they were uneventful.
I think he had one of these box sets of 7 times platinum.
Did it? Okay, yeah. But I mean, in general,
there weren't dominating, like Beatle records or something.
Right, exactly.
Come Monday was a pretty big song.
Yeah, yeah. 5 o'clock
Cheeseburger in
somewhere,
Paradise.
cheeseburger. Yeah,
5 o'clock somewhere was big.
that was huge.
I think that was his biggest
I
song.
often wonder about
Uh,
that one. Who helped who? Did Alan help him, or did he help Alan? And they both get
I
money
don't
off that.
remember. I don't remember who wrote what, who did what on that, but it was good for both of them, though.
Yeah, no doubt.
They won CMA awards, and it's still being played a lot today.
No
It
doubt.
gets played more than Margaritaville does.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Because of country stations. That's a song that, just as an oldie, it didn't really get old. People still play it.
I remembered playing in my 17 years, jockeying. I remember playing Cheeseburger in Paradise about once every 2 weeks. And I thought to myself, who else is playing this song? And it was funny, but I mean, it was not, the greatest song in the world.
Changes in latitude.
Yeah.
That was a nice song. And right now in the top 10 of iTunes, I think he has 4 or 5 songs.
Oh, I'm sure he does now.
Along with that red bearded dude, Richmond from Richmond, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's going to play. What did I see? He's going to play the Tootsie's birthday party in Nashville.
Really?
This month. And so they got him a gig doing that. I think he's a one-hit wonder.
I'd be anxious to see what happens with him. Oh, by the way,
I'm afraid he's a one-hit wonder.
By the way, you said the new Rolling Stone album will be called Hackney Diamonds, which I looked it up.
Yeah.
It's an old East London slang for broken glass. Hackney Diamonds means broken glass. So there you go on that new album. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
All right. So the Richmond from Richmond man. By the way, I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast with him.
Yeah.
And this guy is not an idiot. He's not a rube. He's not a hillbilly. He's pretty slick. He's pretty
Did you see the picture of him without his beard? He looks like he went to Harvard.
Yeah, he speaks real well. So this, all that stuff. I don't know.
A setup, Jimmy? I mean, is it a setup from the get-go?
I don't know if it's a setup, but I think it was an act to a point of playing the angry, guy.
Wow, that's interesting.
Damn shame, that. I don't know.
Boy,
anyway,
man.
He was pretty sharp, very, very well spoken.
Okay,
on Joe.
All right. I'll have to listen to that. I'll have to go back.
It was good. So good for him.
Yeah.
There's another. Since we're going to stay light this week, with show business, there's a movie about Priscilla Presley coming out.
Oh, really?
From Sophia Coppola. It's coming out later in the fall. It was at the Venice Film Festival this week. I got a 9-minute standing ovation.
Really?
It's Priscilla's side, basically the story. I mean, here she is. She's a 9th grader or something like that, picked up from Germany, brought, goes over to Graceland to live. She's 14. I mean, it's a really weird story that people allowed.
I don't know the story at all. I mean, I don't know. You just told me everything you just told me.
He was in the Army.
Yeah.
And met her somehow over there. Her father was military, I think, or something. And ended up, he was leaving the Army and convinced the family that she should come to Memphis and finish getting raised there.
And they said, okay. Sure.
They did.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I don't know how you'd make that deal.
I don't either.
But he's the biggest star in the world, but I still don't think I would. I don't know. I don't know how you make that deal.
I wouldn't.
That'd be a tough one. But they did, and he did, and they got married, and they had one child, and she eventually left. She said, yes, I did. I did leave, but it wasn't because I didn't love him. He was just so controlling and manipulative and all that stuff. So you're going to hear another side about Elvis.
When is that coming out? I mean, what's the
fall? Later in the fall.
In the fall, okay.
They're going to try to get Oscar, attention.
Sure, yeah.
From it.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I think I'd watch that.
On the Kevin Costner thing.
Yeah.
He allowed his underwear to be dried in the public. I mean, that was
I've never heard that.
That's bad. I mean, he did not. I mean, I don't think it certainly helped his career.
No, but I like him. I like him as an actor.
I mean, I think she was off the wall trying to get as much money. I mean, she couldn't live off $40,000 a month. She needed
that's not enough.
$100,000 a month and all that stuff. I mean, it just didn't come across well. But on the whole Yellowstone thing, here is the most successful show on television, and they wanted to give him a pay cut.
What? So that doesn't make sense. Yeah,
that they were going to. It sounds like, and so that was one of the things he had problem with. And then he had a problem with the fact that, this Taylor Sheridan, he spread himself so thin.
He has.
He was doing the Lioness and doing about 10 shows at one time where he was all right and everything, but didn't ever finish writing Yellowstone.
Right.
So they had to split it up into 2 seasons, and it was just logistically, Kevin couldn't do it. He's a movie star. He had his own movie coming out.
Yeah.
So they screwed him up. I mean, they have it, okay, there's this, and now we want you to come back and do this. I can't do it. I've already set my movie up to do.
Yeah.
So they're going to kill him off, and he won't even show up for season 6.
The big question is, will the show die with him? I mean,
yes, I think yes, and I think
I
think Taylor Sheridan is going to kill it off with that season too.
Yeah.
So it's going to wrap things up. Start a new show with Matthew McConaughey that I think fails, and it's just, I think it's over. I mean, I think the rhythm was broken by the strike and by their long absence. It's going to now, one thing that could help it is that Yellowstone starts on CBS on Sunday nights, September 17th or something like that.
Oh, really? I wonder why they're doing that.
Started episode 1, season 1.
Okay.
So it's the same company. It's CBS is Paramount is Viacom.
I got you.
So they own it. So, okay, let's do this. So I don't know how that's getting paid out. He's a profit participant. So somehow they have to get paid. There's a lawsuit in there somewhere with him and them. So there's a lot going on
in
the world of Kevin Costner. And that house, in his compound there, $175 million home.
Unreal.
Just south of Santa Barbara. It's it's a big piece of property in an area that doesn't have big pieces of property.
Yeah, Santa Barbara. Yeah, you got that much land, you got a fortune.
I mean, he's near Montesee South. He's Carpinteria, I think is what they call that town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's near Oxnard, and it's on the way to Santa Barbara off 101.
Beautiful
area. It's a big plot.
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10 houses could be built there.
Yeah, I thought about buying it, but I would need about 400 or 500 friends to each put in a couple $100,000.
That would at least be there. You have to live in that crazy place.
Right. Exactly.
I got this right here. This is what something makes me crazy, and people doing it all over the country.
What are you doing? I can't see what you're doing.
Sticking it to the tourist.
Oh, yeah.
This is a letter I got from the New Jersey Turnpike Authority.
Okay, let's hear it.
When I was driving.
Oh, you got a ticket.
They don't have toll takers or anything.
Yeah.
So they send you something in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
One from Florida. Got one from New York.
Oh,
the tolls were kind of high, $7 or $8, maybe more, $10. And I had a $40 or $50 bill because I went down the Verrazano. I went through a tunnel, Midtown Tunnel. I went through George Washington, whatever.
Yeah,
and that was fair. Stood it. But this takes the cake.
Okay, go.
Leave it to New Jersey. And for you New Jersey people, shame on you for allowing something like this. Asbury Park, the home of Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah.
On the 30th of September at 10:22 at night, I go through a toll thing for $2.10.
Okay. All right, $2.
Then there's an administration fee with this.
Okay.
Administrative fee of $50.
What?
On a $2 fare.
What? Wait a minute. What?
I have to pay $52.10 to the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, and I did it first notice of enforcement action.
Ooh.
And they're not kidding. You got to pay these things. And it says, please submit your payment of $52.10, blah, blah, blah.
You were in your own car, right? I mean, you were.
Right.
So I've gotten a ticket.
Just a tourist passing through.
No, I've gotten a toll bill in a rental car. I went to take it back.
Yes, yes.
And
the rental-car company will come back on you on that.
Yeah. So now they sell a box or they make it part of the rental. You pay extra and it takes care of all your toll or whatever.
Yeah, if you're going to be in one of those places, you want to do that. But I'm coming up from Tennessee.
Yeah.
We don't have toll roads around this part of the country. So when I was in Texas, I had an Easy Pass. If I'd have had my Easy Pass from Houston, it would have taken it.
That's crazy. I don't mind the $2. I get it, but the $50? Are you kidding me?
$52 is ridiculous.
That is unreal. I mean, that's unreal.
It's criminal.
Yeah, I agree.
That's New Jersey.
Well, sure. Still run by the mob, is it?
Easy. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, by the way, with Jimmy Buffett, back to that again.
Yeah.
It's something that really, it's going to be, I hope people paid attention to that part of the story of how he died.
Yeah, he had cancer,
From skin cancer.
Boy, that's a lot of people have that.
In fact, all of us potentially could, if you've been if you were a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it can happen to young people too, but a lot of times it comes with people 30, 50 years later after they've had that type of exposure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's just crazy. 2019, he discovered he had these, it was like a little red, what it looked like, it's a Merkel cell carcinoma. And what it looks like, if you ever have you ever burned your finger or burned your hand, for
Yeah,
example,
sure. Yeah.
and it blisters up,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a little ball of water
Yeah.
comes up in there,
Yeah.
and then you either poke it,
And it
and then put a
leaks
bit
all
there,
over.
whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, that's what it looks like. It looks
So it
like
looks like a
that.
blister.
It can be as big as a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be about as the top of an eraser on a pencil.
Okay.
And they somehow either freeze it or cut it out or whatever they do. But whatever they did, it pops up other places because it's now getting in there. It's like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were doing. And then at some point, it turned into lymphoma.
Wow.
And once that gets into you, I mean, when you have this little thing that's surfaced
Mm-hmm.
and gone, broken the skin and got that, there's stuff going on underneath.
Sure.
And if that cancer gets into the bloodstream,
Mm-hmm.
which is what it did with him, it doesn't, you can't radiate, you're just done.
Wow.
They can't, so you're done. So he died once the lymphoma happened. That was like in May. He had a couple of months that they were working on, flare up, and they'd cut it and radiate and do all that.
Yeah.
And he was able to play one place in July, otherwise had to cancel and just take it easy. But he didn't want to take it easy. He went out fishing and did all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that might have not helped him either.
Yeah.
Because if they wanted to go slow, but he didn't have that speed. And then lymphoma came, and he was in hospice the last 1 or 2 weeks.
So sad.
What you need to do, everybody, number one, needs to check their children and check your own. I've got stuff that got burned off last week.
Did you
right
really?
Here on where is it now? Let's see what. I think it already, they froze it and it's already peeled off.
I can't even see. Even with this high definition, I can't see it. But
yeah, you can see these little spots. These are all spots that have been burned off at one time or
I mean,
another.
yeah, you
But
got.
there's a little place right there
Yeah.
that if they didn't go away, they're going to have to cut it. But I think it's going away.
Yeah. My wife has had something removed from
Those
her
are
face as well.
cell.
Yeah.
Basal cell. There's 3 different kinds.
Okay.
Something's called basal, one's called squishy, something other, and then you have that thing, and it's not good. You're going to die from lymphoma. Some people are
Scary. Yeah.
So if they're lucky and they are able to cut it and get it all, I mean, I've had a couple of them had to biopsy a few things because I was always, as a kid, I remember my shoulders peeling like an onion.
Is it just from getting beat down by the sun, Jimmy? Is it?
It's 2 things: sun exposure,
Okay.
and also compromised immune system.
Okay, so 2 things.
Sometimes your immune system is not, based on at the time, or maybe for always, or whatever, able to fight that particular thing that's going on. So, I mean, you just don't want to screw around with stuff like that. If you've got something that's crusty or a red spot that's all of a sudden come up or something, you got to have someone look at that.
Yeah.
And have them do it, freeze it or cut it, do whatever they got to do. And it doesn't cost that much.
I got that.
Your
right
insurance
there.
somehow doesn't like it necessarily. Yeah.
I got that thing just popped up yesterday, the day before.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, if you got him, I don't know, I don't know where his popped up, but I just know sun exposure on my head.
Yeah.
And then other people, there's so many one thing that gets me about insurance, they don't seem to care about your mental health. They don't seem to care about your teeth. They don't seem to care about your hearing.
Your eyes.
And they don't seem to care about your eyes.
No, those aren't connected to the body. That's why.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know whoever dreamed up all this stuff. Cut all those things. And that's just outrageous.
It's
and
true.
Dermatologists don't get paid hardly anything. And that's a serious, important thing. Yes, some of it's cosmetics and don't pay for Botox and stuff like that. But things that are important like that, when they code it, it should be respected and that ought to be done.
I agree.
The dental part, I mean, that should have been worked out a long time ago.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You're connected to your brain, and if your teeth are rotting, you're going to die.
Yeah, right. Right.
So,
but somehow it's not part of medical insurance.
Yeah,
It makes no sense.
No, and it just makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
But life, the older I get, the more life doesn't make a lot of sense.
The older you get, the less we know, right? That's the
It
whole
seems
thing.
like the less we know.
The less
But I do
we
know football season's here, and I do
yeah,
like
buddy.
that. The best time of the year for sports
Yeah.
is October, because you've got college football's really heated up by that point.
Yeah.
Pros are really heated up by that point. You're at the World Series, which I absolutely love.
Oh yeah,
The World Series. You're at the end of NASCAR season.
that's right. Yeah,
You're at the end of racing, so you get them all.
you get them all, man. Boy, we got beat down by the Huskies on Saturday. I don't know how you did with the Tide. What happened? Did you get?
Oh, we won. If we're playing Texas this
You're
week,
getting
that's
used
a
to
real
that.
big deal.
Oh, my
Real
God.
big deal.
We got our home opener this week on the blue turf, so we're excited about that. Hopefully they'll get a win, but we'll see what happens. But the Huskies were way too much. A top 10 team. I think they're ranked number 10 in the nation, and they took it to us last week, so we'll see. I expect Alabama to win, though. I don't expect them to. Look at what happened to TCU. They got beat. That surprised the heck out of me.
It's been kind of strong out in the West, so who knows what they're going to do.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Two.
Until next time, put your TV on sports. Tell your friends about this podcast, because what we do is we solve the world's problem one podcast at a time. Until next time, right here on Sweeping the Country, I'm Derek Walker. He is.
I'm Jimmy Carter.
Good day.
Good day.